Fintech Chatter TV. Presented by Tier 1 People. Leaders in Fintech Executive Search.
So Rich Data Co, we call it RDC, is about 8 years old. So we've been in existence for about 8 years. And we provide AI decisioning platform to lenders, and largely in the business lending and the commercial lending space. So our goal is really providing the AI decisioning capability and helps the lenders to make higher quality decisions safely and more efficiently. And now if you talk to any business, it's an AI business, right? So the thing we're super proud of is we started really applying AI for lending 8 years ago. Yeah. So our first customer is out of North America, and we start to really making lending decisions using their data 8 years ago. So we have some experience, which is great. So let's get into a little bit details around this. So the method I think many lenders use or many banks use in terms of credit assessment are still based on methodology defined in 1950s. So being around a long time, and it has been very successful for a long time, and it's rely heavily on credit history and past behavior. And so one of the reasons we're really thinking about how to change the game and how to solve the issue is now there's so many data, so much data become available about individuals and also about business. AI technology advanced a lot in the last 70, 80 years. And can we actually solve the problem differently? Can we actually, using AI and using data, have a deeper understanding of the behavior and be able to predict, understand what the future looks like? Can we bring decisioning and AI together, help lender to make a better decision? And is perhaps the idea behind RDC, and to really thinking about how can we think of the problem differently, and can we solve it using AI, and what type of control we need to be in place, and to give that safety and the compliance aspect to the lenders so they can safely use AI and in the lending space. So if you look at RDC, many of us coming from banking background and coming from large enterprise software background. So we have a solid understanding the challenge of the legacy systems and how difficult it is, and what's the possible pathway to help banks to solve that issue. Perhaps it's one. And so we actually understand the pain. Often what we help banks to do is an AI accelerator type of approach. So setting up an environment to help the banks to experiment, testing new ideas around AI and testing out in a control environment before we rolling that out into production. I think for many large banks, that's the right way to go, to really test out the idea, proven it can work, and before moving that into production, perhaps is one. Secondly, purely from banks' perspective, the compliance requirement is very high. It's slightly different from many fintech lenders, and the compliance requirement is not as high as banks need to do. So from designing the AI decisioning platform perspective, we focus a lot around transparency and compliance. So we have a term we use called glass box AI. So what that really means is every decision made in our platform is traceable all the way back to the data. So how the data get ingested, what type of prediction we have done, how many models was used, or the model results are explainable, and the decision itself, which is a combination of multiple models and multiple rules, is traceable all the way through. So I think we have a term called self-describing decisions. That means if the banks ever wanted to inspect one of the lending decisions they ever made, they have a chance to do that on our platform. So I think this type of design and building an investment into the platform and enable us to be able to have the ability to service the banks or fintech lenders. You would see in some of the press release our customer have done and in the market, and I think we firmly believe it's best for our customer talking about us and versus we promoting ourselves. And so you can see the feedback is overwhelming, and in terms of the impact we have achieved, really helping large banks and innovate in the business lending space, and in a way getting ahead of their competitors is what we've been focusing on doing. So our business is to enable the bankers, right? So in terms of, if you look at SME lending, it's perhaps the fully automated decision is possible and under a certain amount. And if you go to the commercial end, and especially about $5 million lending, and at this point in time, no one is going to rely on AI to make a decision and say, do a tick and a finish. And the things we're really focusing on is the harmonize the AI and the human. So in a way, I haven't found the best analogy for it. It's almost providing a calculator for the bankers, if you would say. And in the days have no calculators and all the bankers need to do the calculation by hand. Is can we provide the next generation of tooling to the bankers and to help them to not just look at the past and also looking at the future, into the future, and to see what the future is actually painting out for their customers. So if I give you an example to bring this to life, so one of the core things we do, especially for SME businesses, is we do cash flow forecast. So we're predicting their cash flow strength over the next 12 months. So when the bankers examine how that SME business is doing, they could look at the cash flow strength of that business over 12 months, because business often have seasonality. So if I give you an example, if the cash balance continue to dropping, very likely that business is start to run into issues. The banker actually needs to have a conversation with the business owner, say, what's going on, Dexter? Are you okay? And on the other side, if let's say a retail business, in December, you see the cash flow continue to drop, but picking up prediction-wise, picking up in January, February, that's a fantastic lending opportunity. The bankers should have a conversation with that business, say, Dexter, can I help you out? It looks like you need some cash to buy stock for Christmas. So what AI really is doing is start to provide that insight for the bankers to look into the future in terms of their business customers, and they can have much more meaningful and insightful conversation with the customers. I think if you're really thinking about what an ideal lending situation is for the customer, is you have the credit available to you when you need it, where you need it, and how you need it, right? So if I design the whole lending product around the customer, that will be how I design it. And then from AI perspective, can I use AI to understand your needs better and to make sure the credit which tailor to your needs is actually available before even thinking about it, is where we're driving towards. And it is here now, and we're helping major banks doing that now, and really looking at the existing customer portfolio and to see how to optimize the offer to existing customers. Because the frustration is, if you are existing customers, I have all your data, I understand you, I have a relationship with you from a bank perspective. I should know when to offer credit to you, at what time and in what format, and enable banker to have a very meaningful conversation with you. And that's the things we're focusing on. We have about 60 people in the business, and office-wise, one thing I'm super excited around RDC office is always have a fantastic energy. And so whenever I have a tough day, actually I come into the office, always buzzing, and people laughing, joking, and playing, and it's just a fantastic place to be. We have, so one of our culture principles is around diversity. We have a very diverse workforce, and largely categorized by two types of people. One is we call them young guns, so the very young kids fresh out of school, full of ambition, full of energy. I think you saw some of them out there. And there's another generation, is more like what we call the corporate warriors. So being around the corporate for a while and done quite well, and felt there's more in their career, and then working in large corporate, they wanted to try something different. So we also have a group of people like that. So we normally have the young guns and the corporate warriors, and in RDC. We mainly engineer and data scientists. We have a very, very thin sales and marketing team. So we have 2 sales guys, 0 marketing, and so everyone else is almost or either expertise in credit or in banking, or engineers or data scientists or data engineers. Talent attracts talents, right? So it's the RDC team, I work in large banks, large technology companies. I would say RDC have one of the strongest team in the industry. And the core reason for that is there's a bunch of people come together and they have huge ambitions, huge talents. They want to do something different. So I think one of the things we keep talking about at the very early days is saying it's a bunch of interesting people to do interesting things which are impactful. Is what we're driving. And so you have people truly passionate about the business, and then good people bring good people. Talent attracts talents. People don't come into organization, work for organization, they come in work for people. Especially in startup, people will decide how successful you can be. So one thing we often say is the limitation of any startup such as RDC is how good the people are. And how good we are as not just individuals, as a team, and how much we can push the boundaries as a team, how we hold each other accountable, how to pushing each other up as a team is will decide how far we'll go. It's actually nothing else. And the product comes because people is good. Customer comes because people is good. So people is core of our business. From investor perspective, we've been talking to many investors, like many startups. Fundamentally, I felt investors wanted to invest in good business. And so if we look at boil down to, and it's really solid business, and especially in the current environment, that's where investors focusing on. Then what do they assess? They assess how good people are is the number one criteria. And so our investors are always amazed on how good our team are. And so number one, before anything else, then they look at product to market fit, they're looking at your revenue, your growth trajectory and all that. But the first gate is actually people. So if you want capital, get a team right. It's so important. RDC is a startup, right? So the pressure is high at any point in time. And for us, it's a survival pressure versus large corporate. And so one thing we actually very consciously put in place is a culture principle. We call it culture key. And it's actually to exactly avoiding that issue is to say, we want you to look after yourself first, your loved one next, and then RDC. So the business will be here, but if you're not healthy, you're not strong, you're not well, you're not going to be helpful for anyone. If your family or your loved ones are in stress, you're not going to be helpful for everyone. And so go sort out the base stuff first. And then let's make RDC work. So I think this type of supportive structure are important in the current world. Working from home, yes, you have a better chance of perhaps doing some of the school duties and balancing it off, but also means the work actually seep into your life. It's hard to turn off. People are online all the time. It's hard to draw that boundary between work and the personal life. And it's one thing. And the second, people are social animals. We wanted the energy and the interaction with people, and we're enjoying making that human connections. And human and social connections, the other factor I think are super important to avoid burnout. We need support, we need connections, we need to be part of a group. So I think working from home, there are some benefits. There's a lot of drawbacks as well. So how to balance that, I think, is all the business trying to figure out. For us, it's now we have a solid product, we have a solid team, and the next 8 years is all around growth. And so you might have seen we have entered the North America market and through a very strong partner, Encino, so who is a super successful fintech in the global market. They're providing lending operating system currently to 1,700 banks globally. So we have signed an agreement with Encino for them to distribute our product globally. So super excited to enter the market with them, and we will focusing around building more partnership like that and continue to grow into different markets. I believe we have a career link on our website, and we're quite active on LinkedIn as well. So feel free to follow us on LinkedIn and reach out from the website. And we are recruiting quite heavily, and we're aiming to adding about 30 people to RDC over the next 12 months. So we are growing quite significantly, especially in the US market and also in the Australia market. So yeah, do reach out, and we are continue to look for interesting people to work on interesting things.
Fintech Chatter TV. Presented by Tier 1 People. Leaders in Fintech Executive Search.